Just about every Sunday, you can see how passionate he is about God when he brings and he worships with his son Matthew. And that's another thing we're going to be talking about this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Ken Gregson. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Ken, let's start with Matthew. I mean, obviously he's such a visible part of your life and he's such an amazing part of our ministry. He has brought an amazing amount of joy and just energy into our worship service here. What is the biggest lesson that you got to tell us about having a son with a disability?
That's pretty easy. Unconditional love. When I was younger, I wasn't even sure I knew how to show love or if I could feel love. And the Lord has just blessed me beyond compare, beyond what I deserve. And both Bernadette and I, having Matthew and giving us countless ways to experience and get love from him and give love as well.
Give me an example of what that unconditional love looks like.
Well, a few years ago, Matthew went through a very, very aggressive period, and I was traveling a lot at the time. I'd come back into town from 3 or 4 days, gone out of town, and Bernadette would be black and blue from Matthew beating up on her. And a behavioral therapist told us the best thing we can do is just nothing. Just sit there and take it. The alternative was putting him on drugs, on heavy drugs that would dampen his personality. And the Lord's blessed him with such a great, loving, outgoing, friendly personality. We just didn't want to do that to him. Another example is a lot of kids like to play with things like Play-Doh and squish things. With many autistic kids, it's very, very sensory, and they get obsessed about it. With Matthew, it was his feces. Wow. And he went through a couple of years where he played with it every day, rubbed it all over his body, all over the walls, all over the house, the furniture. And you clean up feces every day, all over the place for a couple of years, and that will teach you about unconditional love.
I cannot imagine. That's phenomenal. Well, how does that impact your family? How does that impact your whole family?
Well, you know, they say in America the divorce rate is 50%. With disabled kids' parents, it's more like 75%. Most get divorced. And if it wasn't for our faith and growing with the Lord over these last dozen years that we've known about Matthew's autism and as that's developed, I know we wouldn't have made it. Bernadette and I both grew up Catholic, and we raised our sons that way. Michael went to a small Catholic school, but we worshiped in small Christian churches like this one. It's just given us a strong faith. I became a Christian about 1977, but it strayed far, far away from the Lord. And it was only over these last decade with Matthew that I really began putting Christ first in my life.
Can you say something about Michael?
Michael's just been an amazing brother. The Lord, I know, has taught him patience. You know, he just wrote a college entrance or application essay that they're supposed to write. Right. And in it, he talked all about being a brother of an autistic boy and how that's taught him patience and understanding and tolerance and love. We're really proud of Michael.
Yeah, he is an amazing kid. I had an opportunity to see some of his patients. A while back, I had the honor of officiating at Ken and Bernadette's renewal of the wedding vows. It was a beautiful day. And Michael helped bring his mother up the aisle. It was a cool thing. And as he walked by his brother Matthew grabbed him and bit him on the arm. Yeah, bit him. And I thought, oh, would have loved him. And then he got up here and he had a welt on his arm where Matthew took a plug out of him. And it was an amazing thing to be able to see. As I said, I had the opportunity to participate in that, and that was an amazing thing. And then I went to your house afterwards for the reception, and during the reception, that's when you mentioned ARC. You serve on the board of directors about ARC. Would you say something about your work with them, please?
Yeah, ARC Broward is just really an amazing organization here in South Florida, serving about 1,200 or so families who are living with autism, Down syndrome, developmental delays, and other life challenges from pre-K through senior citizens throughout their life cycle. And it's just made a huge impact on our family. One small way is they have taken care of Matthew in aftercare and summer camp programs, and they specialize on kids with these behavioral challenges like I described earlier. He had been thrown out of a couple of aftercare programs and summer camp programs, and if it wasn't for ARC Broward, Bernadette wouldn't have been able to work. And that we needed not only for our family's financial support, but for her sanity. You know, work was her ability to have some time away from Matthew and from all those challenges. So they've really made a tremendous impact on our family's lives.
With all you've got going on in the house, why in the world would you try to get involved in something like that?
Well, one of the biggest fears of parents with disabled kids is what's going to happen when they're adults. When we're too old to take care of them, when they're going to be on their own. And ARC Broward has some tremendous programs, in particular 3 mission-based enterprises that helps prepare adults with autism and Down syndrome and other developmental delays to get employment or to be able to live independently.
Now, at the reception for your wedding, we had some amazing, I think I'm losing my mic, I'm going to use this one. We had some amazing food. I understand that ARC prepared for us. What do they do that for? What are some other things that they do?
Well, one of the mission-based enterprises is the ARC Broward Culinary Institute, and it's a 16-week certification program to enable adults with developmental disabilities to learn how to work in kitchens, serve, prepare food, and then they train them and then help get them jobs. So as part of that, they have a culinary business, a catering business rather, that caters weddings and parties and business functions, and all the revenue from the catering goes back into the Culinary Institute for scholarships so that those less fortunate can take advantage of that school.
All right, well, if anyone in here has sort of been inspired by that, what are some things they can do to be involved with ARC?
Well, one thing is you could hire their catering from the ARC.
Because we don't ever eat here. We never eat here.
From the Culinary Institute. One of the other mission-based enterprises is ARC Broward Electronics Recycling. It's another business that we have to give employment to those less fortunate, those with developmental disabilities. And we're Broward County's largest electronics recycler. We're the official electronics recycler for Broward County, as well as many of the large businesses here. And you can donate electronics for a tax-deductible donation. And we either resell them or we take them apart for parts and sell them there. And then all that revenue goes back into the programs of ARC Broward. And then one thing that we just started, which is really pretty cool, is a school of higher education. High schoolers with autism and Down syndrome typically just stay in high school till they're 22 years old, and they just repeat the 12th grade 4 or 5 times. Well, we started a school for 18 to 22-year-olds in conjunction with Broward County School Systems to help give them job skills or independent living skills. So you can learn all about this on arcbroward.com. Certainly you can talk to me on the back table on your way out. I put a bunch of pamphlets and brochures about them, but it's just a fantastic organization.
And they're amazingly blessed to have you, just as we are amazingly blessed to have you. One thing I want to leave us with, this past weekend, our whole weekend theme came from one of your favorite verses, John chapter 5, verse 19. Why is that your favorite verse? And say something about that, why it's important to you.
Well, you know, while the kids were singing, I was thinking about that very thing.
That's right.
Because if you don't know John 5:19, it says, it's Christ speaking, saying, "Very truly I say to you, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can only do what he sees the Father doing. But whatever the Father does, the Son also does." And you know, you teach us to read the Bible for ourselves and to let God speak to us ourselves. That verse came crashing in my head. I had learned it many, many years ago, but about 10 years ago, Michael said to me, "Dad, why are you drunk all the time?" And my father was an alcoholic, and that verse came crashing in my head, and I certainly didn't want Michael to become one. And the Lord just lifted my desire for alcohol from me at that time, and I haven't had a drink in over 10 years, and it's just become my life verse. So it's a journey, giving more and more of my life to Christ to lead that example for Michael.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that I wanted to share with you today, you seem to me to be such a rock. You know, a rock, what we experienced on Friday and with your family. So I came across this. It's a rock. And on this rock is inscribed, "Be strong and of good courage. The Lord thy God is with thee wherever thou goest." From Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. You, my friend, are a rock.
Thank you so much.
God bless you. It is amazing to me when we gather together on Sunday morning and we consider the various gifts and skills and the strength of people who sit and worship with us every day. Thank you so much, Ken, for sharing your story with us. If you want to know more about ARC, A-R-C of Broward, as he mentioned, there are pamphlets in the back. Talk to him. He would love to visit with you. And we also want to say a very special welcome to all of his family who are with us today. God bless you all as well. So